Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with the Nokia N1, the very first Android tablet from the Finnish Nokia. I'm talking about the Nokia that was left behind when the Finns sold Nokia devices to Microsoft. Also, this is the very first USB Type-C device that we're testing and the first tablet with this standard on board with this type of port. Unveiled in November last year, this is the first hardware product from Nokia after the Microsoft sale, and also a device that reached China in January this year, and it sold all the units with flash sales 4 times in a row, a huge success there. The price tag right now in Europe, where it debuted recently, is 314 euros. And now let's talk about the design. As you have probably figured out, we're dealing with a unibody aluminum design, and this device has been compared quite a few times to the iPad mini. However, in real life it resembles that tablet less than one would think. For starters, the edges are more rounded, and this is a matte device, doesn't have any shiny part. As you know, the iPads have this shiny portion here. The bezel is bigger than the iPads, and actually the N1 is slimmer than the iPad mini 3. It measures 6.9 millimeters in thickness, while the iPad mini 3 measures 7.5 millimeters. It also weighs 318 grams, which is also lighter than the 331 grams of the iPad mini 3. So lighter and thinner than the iPad mini 3. That's the conclusion about the design. This is an unibody aluminum shell tablet, very comfy and also at the same time very light, with an excellent grip and excellent one-hand usage. If you want to do a bit of reading and browsing, one hand should be enough for a quick session. It's made by Foxconn and it has a solid and elegant design. At the front we obviously find the display, the front camera and some sensors, while at the back we find the main camera and the Nokia logo. At the top there is the power button, microphone and audio jack, while at the bottom we have 2 speakers and the USB Type-C reversible port. There's absolutely nothing on the left side, while on the right side we got the pill-shaped volume buttons with good feedback. Overall, the Nokia N1 offers a well-balanced design. It's actually comfier than an iPad thanks to the rounded edges, and it's quite an elegant device. Now, as far as the hardware is concerned, what you're seeing here, this one is an IPS LCD screen with a diagonal of 7.9 inches and a resolution of 2048 over 1536 pixels. The CPU inside this tablet, it's a quad-core Intel Atom Z3580 clocked at 2.3 GHz. The CPU I just mentioned is a 64-bit unit, and other specs on this tablet include 2 GB of RPDDR3 RAM of the 800 MHz kind, and also the GPU available here is the PowerVR G6430 clocked at 533 MHz. We also have 32 GB of storage. There is no micro SD card slot here in case you're wondering, and as far as the cameras are concerned, there is a 5 megapixel shooter at the front and an 8 megapixel shooter at the back. On a connectivity front, what we're getting is Wi-Fi 802 2.11 ABGN AC. It's a Wi-Fi dual channel with MIMO, in case you're wondering. We also have Bluetooth 4.0 and USB Type-C reversible, as I said before. Okay, in the section I like to call others, we got 2 0.5 watt speakers, microphone, a 6-axis gyroscope and an accelerometer, to name just a few. The battery on this device, it's a 18.5 watt-hour unit or a 5300 mAh unit. It's a lithium polymer battery with a voltage of 3.7 volt. So let's see the results achieved by this tablet in our test. So let's go to photos and then screenshots, and here we go, battery. Our test involves HD video playback in a loop with Wi-Fi on, brightness of 50%, and we achieved in this test 8 hours and 32 minutes. It's quite good, but it doesn't beat any record or any rival. For example, the iPad mini Retina scores 10 hours and 8 minutes, the Xiaomi Mi Pad 10 hours, and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 a huge 13 hours and 33 minutes. Well, at least we beat the LG G Pad 8.3 and it's 7 hours and 40 minutes. Now we also did a PC Mark test. PC Mark simulates continuous usage and should be here somewhere. Here we go. We got 7 hours of functioning time, once again continuous usage simulation. We beat the Xiaomi Mi Pad that scored 6 hours and 28 minutes, and we even beat the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 with its 4 hours and 43 minutes. So if you want work from this tablet, you'll get it quite well, as you just saw in PC Mark. Sadly, the charging takes quite a long while. It takes 3 hours and 52 minutes, which is a very long time. The iPad mini Retina is not very far behind, 3 hours and 40 minutes, while the Xiaomi Mi Pad charges much faster at 2 hours and 30 minutes. And finally, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4, 3 hours. So almost 4 hours, that's what this model requires to charge. And we obviously also have special settings related to the battery. Right here, of course, we have a graph of our usage and of course battery saver. You can turn it on right now or make it turn on automatically at 5% or 15%. The battery saver helps improve battery life by reducing the device's CPU clock rate, limiting vibration and background data. Also syncing is done a bit less. Overall, this is a good battery, but the long charging takes it back a bit. Okay, now it's time to discuss the acoustics. What we're dealing with here are two 0.5 watt speakers, and Nokia promised here high quality audio codecs and Wolfson technology. On paper we should be getting 90 decibels and no distortion, and in order to play music we have to use Play Music as the music playing application, and you can get your settings here. That includes an equalizer, which in turn includes 5 customizable channels, some music genre options, and bass boost and surround sound if need be. You already know the interface, so let's go ahead and play some music. Okay, now the conclusions. The volume is quite loud, the sound is clear, there's no distortion, bass is good, and the sound is deep and warm. There's no muffling of the acoustic experience when holding the device in landscape, even if you tend to cover a part of the speakers. No problem here whatsoever. Okay, so we also did a test, and this test involves a decibel meter, and let's see what came out of that. This is the decibel meter showing an impressive value of 89.8 decibels at the back and front, which means the tablet is very loud. The Xiaomi Mi Pad achieves 84.2 decibels. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 measures up to 84.5 decibels in our test, and the iPad Air 2 86.3 decibels, so we beat them all. This is probably one of the loudest tablets we've ever tested, and it even beats the Samsung Galaxy S6 loudness. So excellent acoustics. And now we move on to the screen. This is a 7.9 incher with a 4:3 aspect ratio, 2048 over 1536 pixel resolution, IPS LCD display with an LED backlight, Gorilla Glass 3 protection, fully laminated, and zero gap display. We're going to be using photos as the video player, and here we go. So first things first, the experience is quite bright, viewing angles are pretty wide, as you can see. Colors are a bit on the cold side, the image is crisp, contrast is, I would say, medium, sunlight behavior is quite mediocre, there is a bit of reflectivity going on here, and pixels are of the RGB stripe kind. Now as far as the brightness goes, we use the lux meter to measure it. We achieved 355 lux units, which is reasonably bright, and we are below the iPad mini Retina with its 412 lux, and we beat the Xiaomi Mi Pad and its 310 lux. but we were beaten by the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 and its 432 lux. Well, at least we were very close to the iPad Air 2 that scored 354 lux, so not bad brightness after all. Overall, a very good screen, however, the colors are a bit cold. Now, as far as the settings go, we have special settings for this display. Right here, we got brightness level and light adaptive brightness control, which automatically adjusts brightness depending on the light around, and content adaptive brightness control, which automatically adjusts brightness depending on the content on the screen. We got font size options, and we also have something called Intel Smart Video. Basically, it's an option here that smoothens the video for a smoother motion during playback, and Video Enhance to enhance color and contrast and reduce noise. I have used both of them, didn't notice any improvement, so you can forget about them. Overall, good screen, but colors a bit cold. Now the camera, 5 megapixel shooter at the front for selfies, 8 megapixel shooter right here, autofocus this one and fixed focus this one. Both of them can film in Full HD, just in case you're wondering. The camera application is the stock one, and by stock I mean the stock Lollipop one. And here we go, holding the tablet in landscape and checking out the options. On the left side we got photosphere, panorama, lens blur, camera and video. Then on the right side some options, resolution and quality. Resolution goes up to 8 megapixels in 4:3. We also have 6 megapixels in 16:9, and also some options for the front camera. You can film in Full HD, HD or SD. There's also panorama resolution options, and then advanced, allowing you to set up the manual exposure or leave it automatic. On the right side again we have the front camera shortcut, the grill, timer, and finally the manual exposure settings. I have to say that the zoom is quite fluid. As you can see, the focus is quite fast for a tablet, and the picture taking is okay, doesn't break any speed records, and it's also not exactly a snail, so it's pretty much okay for a tablet. Now let's see the quality of the pictures we just taken. Decent quality once again for a tablet, but let's not only judge these shots, let's go to the gallery and see what pictures we've taken on a very hot August day. Okay, so full gallery here, quite a few shots. Keep in mind it was a very hot day, many pictures may have gotten burned, and this is a tablet after all, so let's not judge it too harshly. Some of the pictures feel a bit washed out, and the details feel lower than those of the iPad cameras. Some of the pictures are burned. Level of detail seems quite okay, especially for a tablet. The colors are pretty realistic. And this is the selfie I have taken with a pretty much okay texture, but the background was a bit blurred. Landscape shots look okay, but at the first zoom you'll certainly notice the noise and the grain. This is the panorama. That seems okay until you reach this part where it's burnt and a bit blurry. Okay, let's go back and continue the analysis of shots. And check this out. Before you saw some colors, those were taken in the sun. These colors are better highlighted in the shade. So if you want more realistic colors, take pictures in the shade, not in the sun. Some nifty close-ups here, especially this one where we played with lens blur for a very nice macro-like effect and very good details of the head of the dog. More realistic colors and more close-ups with excellent texture and details, also very good colors by the way, and starting to feel a bit burned by the sun here. If you zoom in, a lot of quality loss as expected. It's a tablet after all. Burnt picture, slightly less burnt, and pictures in the shade looking fine yet again. The obligatory close-ups of flowers are here, maybe not as good looking as some other tablets, I have to say that. The conclusion is clear, we are below the quality of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 camera, also pretty much all the iPads from the past 2 years, and the Xiaomi Mi Pad. So if we judge this as simply camera on a tablet, it's decent, it's quite good, but if you compare it to what Samsung, Apple and Xiaomi offer, it's not that impressive. Now as far as the videos go, We filmed in Full HD, MP4, 30 frames per second and 15 mega per second. Video number 1. It's not very clear, it's a bit burnt. Stabilization is poor, the level of detail drops when zooming in, and there's also wind to mess around with the microphone. Now let's check out the second video. It's taken in the same conditions, but it's better lit, as you can see right here. In spite of that, there's still a bit of burn in the image, and the quality isn't exactly what I would associate with Full HD. Okay, now let's go to the third video. Keep in mind that most of these clips suffer from the wind noise that is not suppressed. And now here it is, the third video with more colors. Pretty good acoustics, some focus loss, and it also feels HD rather than Full HD. At least the colors look quite good. Okay, and now the last video, this one here. The wind yet again makes the microphone suffer. There is a bit of focus loss, and the roses at the beginning feel a bit burnt by the sun. So overall, the video capture is not impressive. It's below the rivals I just mentioned, the Galaxy Tab S 8.4, the iPad minis, and also the Xiaomi Mi Pad. The one thing that this camera is good at is close-ups and pictures taken in the shade when it comes to the colors that you saw right here. Once again, if you're posting these pictures on Facebook, it's a good enough device for you. So good pictures and videos only in the shade. Now if you want to do a bit of editing, you have to press this button here, the virtual button, and you have options like auto, light, color, pop and vignette to play with, as well as a collection of filters and other options to tweak for your shots. Anyway, that's the editing part, and we're done with the camera. Now we move on to the performance, and I'm going to start with the temperature. After playing 15 minutes of the game Riptide GP2, we reached a temperature of 35.9 degrees Celsius, which means the Nokia N1 doesn't overheat, and this is always good news. As far as the web browser is concerned, Chrome is the main option here, and let's access Tablet-News.com. Loads pretty fast, most likely thanks to our team. That's what a piece of news looks like, and that's the website in landscape. Okay, as far as the virtual keyboard goes, it's typical Lollipop affair with good spacing. I have to say there's no phone calling here, no GPS, no LTE and no 3G. Also, there is no special version of the device with such features, in case you were wondering. Now we're off to the benchmarks. I kept mentioning some rivals of this device throughout the review, so I decided to compare it to the Xiaomi Mi Pad, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 and the iPad mini 2. The battle that is being available here is between the quad-core Intel Atom Z3580 from this model and the quad-core Tegra K1 from the Xiaomi Mi Pad, and the octa-core Exynos 5420 from the Samsung tablet, and finally the dual-core Apple A7 from the iPad mini 2. Okay, so in quadrant we scored 22,271 points. The Mi Pad didn't run the test, while the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 had 19,510, so we beat it. The iPad mini 2 also didn't run the test. In quadrant, a good score, 47,382. We beat the Mi Pad, and it's 39,353. Also beat the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4, and it's 32,013 points. In Nanomark 2, we scored 59.9 frames per second, while the Mi Pad scores 59.6 and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 59 frames per second. Velamo is also here with a good score of 31.27, beating the Mi Pad by about 200 points and also beating the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 by about 700 points. Next up, 3D Mark, which is not this one. but rather this one here. Good score, 20,282, but we got beaten by the Xiaomi Mi Pad and it's 25,000 points. At least we beat the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 and it's disappointing, 13,000 points. And also we beat the iPad Mini 2 and it's 14,000 points. GFX Bench is also here, and in the T-Rex off-screen 1080p test we scored 30 frames per second. Xiaomi Mi Pad had 47.7 frames per second. Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 had 21.8 frames per second, and finally the iPad Mini 2 had 26 frames per second. Next up, there is Geekbench 3 with a 915 score in the single core test and 2872 in the multi-core test. The Xiaomi Mi Pad didn't run it, while the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 had 921 and 2739, so very close to our score. The iPad Mini Retina 1347 and 2525, so it beat us in the single core test. We also did a speed test via Wi-Fi, 17 Mbps in download, 23 in upload, while the Xiaomi tablet had 22 and 6 Mbps, and the Samsung tablet had 29 and 27 Mbps. Finally, the iPad Mini 2 had 19 Mbps in download. Now let's see the browser tests. First up is Browser Mark with a score of 1820. While the Mi Pad didn't run it, the Galaxy Tab S 8.4 had 1600 points, so below us, and the iPad Mini 2 a huge score of 3478. SunSpider, the lower the better, 809 ms. The Mi Pad had 594, so better than us, and the iPad Mini 2 425, once again better than us. And finally, Basemark X 19,502 got beaten by the Xiaomi Mi Pad and it's 24,400 points, while the iPad Mini 2 also beat us with 26,000 points. Overall, the Nokia N1 wins 4 out of the 11 benchmark tests, but at least it beats the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4 in 10 out of 11 tests. The tablet doesn't suffer from lag, no matter what you do. This is the Z-Launcher, by the way. So regular usage, moving throughout the menus, no problem with lag as I said before, and no problem with games. You can easily play all your favorite games even with 3D graphics, like Riptide GP2 for example. It's our benchmark game that we usually use to test devices. Be sure to set the graphics to high and you'll enjoy 3D graphics, nice dynamic lighting, nice shadows, and very nice water effects. Responsive control, and one of the best looking waters I've seen on a 7.9-inch tablet. Also good lighting effect, nice water drops, and here we go. Okay, so gaming is checked, and now let's move forward. As far as the OS and UI is concerned, what you're seeing here is Android 5.0.2 Lollipop with the Nokia Z-Launcher on top. You can also switch to standard Lollipop if you want to. You go to the settings, home, Google Now Launcher, and here we go. Typical Lollipop experience with the home screen like this, all the apps available here, app list separated, and of course the ability to add widgets, the stock ones, also play with wallpapers and settings related to this launcher. Accounts and privacy, search language, voice, tablet search, now cards and about. And now let's get back to the Z-Launcher, since it's the core of the experience after all. So what's the Z-Launcher all about? It's about a more comfortable usage of your tablet. And the idea is to draw letters of an application on the screen. You can scribble them and you'll be seeing results. You'll not only be seeing results of the apps installed on the device, but also results from things that are being looked up via Chrome. So if I write V on the screen, or R, or maybe let's say F, I will be looking stuff up both on Chrome and both in the memory of the device to install the applications. And you can only draw one letter at a time. There's no point in drawing two letters because that doesn't do anything. Also, once a letter is drawn, you can swipe to the left to erase it, or swipe to the right to add a space, provided you want to search for, let's say, a sync tab. Other than that, I have to say that what we're getting here is an alphabetically ordered list of applications, and another thing about the Z-Launcher is that it orders the most often used applications comfy on your home screen so you can access them, and also groups them when they're used together. So the launcher shows the most used app on the same home screen, and then you got those swipe thingies to look up more applications, and then the list here, very basic, very intuitive, very simple, and you can download it from the Play Store to your device in case you want to experience it. Multitasking is still done via cards and via a beautiful carousel, and also by swiping to the side to close your applications. We got the dual drop down area that you can see here. We got the notifications, obviously the quick settings, shortcuts, brightness slider, and we also can add from here a new account and a guest account, and then we can access the settings. Other than that, you can also obviously go to Google Now by swiping up. You can see cards related to stocks, your favorite football teams, weather, or the news, or a birthday of a person. But let's go back to the settings and check them out. So we got connectivity settings at the top, home option to change the launcher, and Z-Launcher settings like an extra column, web suggestions from Google or Baidu, content sources, icon themes, tutorial, and something called data insight, which is very interesting if you like stats. It's showing me which apps have been used the most in a certain period of time. Okay, other than that, we have the display, sound, storage, battery, apps. There's also users, sensor calibration for gyroscope and compass calibration, inter-smart video, location settings. There's no GPS here, so we'll probably be using Wi-Fi alone, security features, encryption and all that, accounts, language and input, date and time, accessibility, printing, and finally about tablet, where you can see Android 5.0.2 with Z-Launcher on top. Now we have reached that part of the review where we check out the pre-installed apps list, but I want to do that by showing the standard launcher. So let's go to Home, Google Now Launcher. It's more easy to maneuver the app list this way. Okay, so pre-installed apps, you'll be happy to know there's no bloatware here, only the stock Google applications. We got the calculator with material design, the calendar with material design as well. There's also camera, Chrome, clock, contacts. We got downloads, Drive, email. We also have Gmail, Google Plus, Hangouts, Keep. Maps is available here, but only via Wi-Fi. It cannot find you via GPS, still reasonably accurate if you're not going on a trip. And then we have news and weather, photos, and the Play Suite. Play books, play games, play music, play newsstand, and Play Store. And finally, YouTube is also in the mix. As I said before, no bloatware here, which is good news. So overall, drawing the line, the Nokia N1 is, in my book, better than the Nexus 9, and it's a better balanced Android tablet than that device. It's very simple and intuitive. You pick it up and start using it, no hassle. Obviously, Lollipop tablets are like that, but some of them have bloatware on board. Anyway, well-balanced device, and now it's time for the verdict for this slate. It's an affordable device, I'll give you that much, so let's see the pros and cons. On the pro side, once again affordable, it's also thinner and lighter than the iPad mini Retina. You just learned that before. It's a very comfy device, easy to hold for long hours with a single hand, and also easy to hold during a long gaming session without a problem, thanks to its very ergonomical shape. The battery is okay, especially when it comes to continuous usage. The volume of the speakers is very loud, and the display is quite okay. There is no lag, Z-Launcher is simple and intuitive, and the performance is quite good. Those are the pros, as I said before. Now on the cons side, the long charging, and you will almost reach 4 hours charging this device. The display kind of has cold colors, and the camera is clearly below the rivals. Once again, it's a tablet, people don't put too much emphasis on the camera, but it's below what other models offer, like the iPad minis. And finally, there is no 3G, LTE or GPS option to buy if you want to spend a bit more and get extra connectivity. So those are the cons, and now the final grades. I'm going to go ahead and give the Nokia N1 a 9.6 out of 10 for design, for the hardware 9.2 out of 10, and finally operating system and user interface, not much I can object here, 9.7 out of 10. And the final grade is 9.5 out of 10 from Tablet-News.com for the Nokia N1. If someone asks me what tablet should I buy with Android right now and keep it on a budget, well, I would recommend this device, the Nokia N1. It's very well balanced, easy to use for long hours, good for gaming, better than the Xiaomi Mi Pad that a friend of mine bought, and it lags a lot right now, and it's basically better than the iPad mini Retina except for two aspects. The screen of the iPad mini Retina is a bit better, and also its camera is a bit better. If you exclude those two aspects, this is a better buy than that product. So if you're looking for a cheap tablet, an affordable device with a very solid design and nifty specs, display and intuitive software, this is it. 9.5 out of 10 from Tablet-News.com. Bye bye.